catch up with Ryan. We haven't caught up with him in quite some time, and he was kind of at the forefront of everything that was going on in the Edmonton bubble yesterday. But he wasn't alone. There was representation from all four teams in Edmonton, all four teams in Toronto, and it's been a pretty interesting 48 hours in the sports world. I think that's probably an understatement.
Well, the image alone was powerful. Like for me, like we were on the air, but the minute we got off air, I went back and listened to the interviews and stuff. But to have the support, and obviously Ryan spoke very well, and Nazem Kadri, like there were guys that spoke, but just the image alone of like it seemed like every guy from every team was standing behind them. It was quite powerful for me just to see that image.
Yeah, it seemed that way from here, and I can only imagine what it was like to actually be there. I guess it was, how would you define that? A press conference? It's so weird with the bubble and there's no one else in there. Was it a Zoom call?
I thought it looked like a statement, and it just looked like a powerful statement for me. Like from aesthetically, from an image standpoint, it just looks so powerful.
And from the players, not from the league, not from the PA, from the players. The players' voices and the players' thoughts. That's what stood out to me.
Yeah, it was. It was quite powerful. It was really quite the scene yesterday, and that's from three guys here in Toronto. Let's go right inside the room now and head out to Edmonton. You know him from the Vegas Golden Knights. Here's Ryan Reaves. What was that like yesterday for you, Ryan, being up there with players from all four teams in the Edmonton bubble and getting to speak on what you guys wanted to speak on yesterday?
You know what? I just heard you guys talking for the last 10 seconds, and I don't know who said it, but you said it great. It was a statement. It wasn't a powerful. It was a powerful image, but it was a statement made by every player in this league. It was one of those moments where, if you look around the room, and I said it yesterday in the interview, if you look around the room, it was basically a room full of white athletes, and they were standing behind a black issue, an issue that affects black men, women, children around North America. And for that to be the statement from a predominantly white group is a very, very powerful message. And, I'm proud of every NHL player right now.
So take us back
Ryan,
a couple of days ago when you see what happened with the bubble in Orlando, you see what happened with the NBA players in Milwaukee. And then, there's a couple of NHL games that end up playing on Thursday night. You guys were scheduled to play on Friday. Take us back to or I guess I've got that wrong, Wednesday and then Thursday you guys were supposed to play. Take us back yesterday morning, in the bubble in Edmonton, and how this all developed and how it all came together to the point where you guys were not going to play yesterday, not play today, and make that statement you made yesterday.
Yeah, so I'll take you back to Wednesday night, I guess. I was out for dinner with a couple of the boys, and Braden McNabb said, "You think we're going to play tomorrow?" And in my head, I was like, "Yeah, of course we're going to play. Why wouldn't we?" And then I got back to my room, and I was just thinking about what he said. And I guess I didn't really think about my answer, and I got back to my room. I was like, "Yeah, are we really going to play? Like, are we not going to stand behind all these athletes on an issue going on right now?" And then all of a sudden, my head started racing, and I couldn't sleep because I didn't know what my next step was, and I felt like it was kind of on me to start things up. But being one of a few black athletes here, I didn't know how it was going to go over, with the team, with the league, and so I ended up calling Flower at 1 a.m, and we had, luckily he called me back, and we were had a good conversation for about an hour, and then. I still hadn't really decided what my course of action was. I knew that I wanted to support my black, athletes and, my brothers and sisters. I just didn't know how to do it. But when I woke up, to my surprise, I had a text from Kevin Shattenkirk saying, "Call me." And I called him and he said, "Hey, I'm with a bunch of guys from all the Eastern teams here. We want to just listen to what you have to say." And we sat there and we talked for, a couple minutes, and I said my piece, and I said I think it's a very powerful statement if a white sport takes a step aside for a couple of days to support a black issue. I think it's a very powerful. NBA players stepping aside, MLB players, those are a lot of players of color. That's an issue that touches them, but this isn't an issue that necessarily touches a lot of these players. But, and they said they were kind of 50-50 whether they wanted to play. And after hearing me, they said, if this is what you think we should do, stand behind you. And it was like a weight off my shoulders because I was kind of, I was a little nervous because I didn't know how things were going to go. And then all of a sudden I got a text saying Vancouver was outside and they wanted to talk. And it was just like, man, the fact that these players stepped up before I even got to say anything was just so impressive from the bubble out east to the bubble over here. I was just so impressed with how every player, every team in this league handled the situation, and I applaud them because, again, like I said, it's not an easy issue to get behind when it's not something that's touched you throughout your life.
And Ryan, it's not an easy issue to talk about, whether it's you or it's me or a player on the Tampa Bay Lightning. So when you woke up the next morning and you're trying to wrap your head around about what you want to do and if you want to sit out or what you want to try to do, when you talked to Kevin out east and the Tampa guys, did you know what you wanted to say, or were you just speaking from the heart? Like, how do those conversations go? Because it's a lot on your shoulders, as broad as they are, to carry and kind of deliver that message.
Yeah, honestly, I think my message, I don't think I was really, I don't think I had anything planned because, like I said, I woke up to that text and I wasn't expecting to be talking to guys right before breakfast. But I think I was just I think it was just more speaking from the heart. And I'll be honest, there were guys that were torn just like I was torn all night because, in my head it was like, okay, we're going to sit out for 2 games. Well, what are we accomplishing with those 2 days? What are we going to do with those 2 days? And, I'm having a tug of war in my head, but then it's like, well, if we sit out, there's supposed to be hockey games on TV. Well, they're going to need something to talk about. If we sit out and we get our message out there, well, that's what they're going to be talking about. So it was almost like a last second thing. Like, yeah, I think that's what we should do. What do you guys feel? And they were very receptive to the idea.
Ryan, was there any, communication with, once you got the ball rolling, you've talked to all the other teams and guys are listening to what you have to say. And obviously, I'm sure you were in contact with the HDA. Did they get in contact with anybody from the NBA? Like, was there a train of information of maybe what is the NBA thinking? Can you guys get together? Or, like you mentioned, you had a tough time sleeping, you wake up and all of a sudden you're hit with everything and you're shouldering a big burden. Was there any communication with kind of, I'll call it the outside world and what they were thinking over there?
No, you know what? I think it was, it was very last minute. There were supposed to be games that were supposed to be played, and the teams out east were kind of preparing for a game because this was kind of last minute for them, and so I would say it all kind of came together within a matter of an hour and a half, 2 hours max. It was a decision that I felt guys made from the heart in a tough spot. It's tough to make that decision on a game day. You go to bed early, you prepare like you're having a game, you wake up, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I think we need to support this. We're not going to play today. And it was, there was no communication with any other league or anything like that. That was a strictly NHL hockey players making a decision.
Ryan, logistically, so you guys come to the decision and come to it quickly. Like, where did you go from there? Did you tell your coach? Did you tell your GM? Like, how did you get it up the chain to let the world and let league know that was the plan for that next couple of days?
Yeah, so we talked to. It started with the East, and then we talked to Vancouver, and once we talked to Vancouver, in that room, we made a decision. That postponing was the best idea. I talked to the coaches and GM and president on the team, and then from there, basically the PA got involved. We got on a couple calls with them and said our piece and said what the message is and then why we're doing it and how we think we should go about it. The PA obviously got with the NHL, had a talk with them, and they released a statement. We released a joint statement about what what was going on, and then the league kind of started that big conference call after.
We're chatting with Ryan Reaves of the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas back in action tomorrow, Game 3, taking on Vancouver. In the NBA, we saw that the players, they held meetings, and eventually they held meetings with the hierarchy of the NBA, the Board of Governors, the commissioner, I believe, was involved, and they're pushing for an alliance and more of a relationship in terms of building towards help with racial injustice, social injustice, elections, the ability for people to vote. That's what's happening in the NBA. What about in the NHL, Ryan? Are you guys hoping to speak with owners, work closer with owners? If so, what kind of conversations are you planning on having, and what do you hope to see happen in the future?
I think there's a lot of things that can be done. The thing with, and we're going to go back to this like I was talking about before, the thing with the NHL is you have a lot of white players. And so, in the NBA bubble, you have a lot of players of color, and they can sit and talk about, what they need to see and what they've gone through and how they want to see their communities change. Well, it's a little bit different here. So, it's going to be a little bit slower in the NHL. There's things that I'd like to see happen. I'd like the NHL to get a little more involved in bringing diversity to the league for sure. And it's no secret that this is a white sport. I think from the NHL standpoint, from a hockey standpoint, you don't want to wait for these black communities to come to hockey. I think you need to bring it to them, and building rinks in those communities, setting up programs for them to be able to get on the ice for free, getting them equipment. That's a start from a hockey standpoint. From just a North America, all the stuff that's going on. I'd like to see some kind of police reform. And I've had a stance that there are 98% of the cops out there are great people who uphold the law and know what they're doing. But there are that 2% of bad apples that should not be on the police force. They have hatred in their heart. They go into a situation and they see color. And if you're going to a situation like that as a police officer and you see color and you start with that, we've already lost. And so, there has to be some kind of training that desensitizes them to the color of the skin. Being black is not a weapon, but some of these people see the color of the skin as a weapon, and we have to change that mindset.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I wanted to, what you said is just, it's bang on. But only you can speak to it as far as the four of us talking. But what I wanted to ask you about was more about how strange this, and you've mentioned this, how different it has been and how powerful it has been for you to have white players stand behind you. These are guys that you're in the heated battle with as well. And you mentioned, these guys I'll rip their face off during the game. I hate these guys, but right now you've got Bo Horvat standing beside you, and you're trying to beat him. Behind
Antoine
you,
Roussel was
and
right
Roussel,
behind him too, you're having a hit. There.
Yeah, I mean, how difficult has that been to park the emotions
in the back of the legs?
You know what I mean? To park the emotions of it when this is such a serious topic.
Yeah. So look, we took 2 days off because there's a bigger issue at hand, and
right.
These athletes, stood behind. Not just me, but they stood behind a cause, and I applaud them for that. And I'm happy to call them brothers in this battle and friends for life. And I got nothing but respect for every single one of those players who did that. But at the same time, I left my family for a month to come live in a bubble in Edmonton for a reason. I haven't lost sight of that. I want to win a Stanley Cup. There's obviously for 2 days there was a bigger issue at hand, but I'm going to bed early tonight and I'm waking up and that hatred will run deep in my veins again for 3, 4, 5 hours, however long it takes to get the win. After the game, after the Stanley Cup has been awarded, I'll buy every one of them a beer if I have to. But when we're on the ice, I haven't lost sight of what I want to do here, and there's definitely no friends on the ice.
Well, it's been a pretty wild 2 games. I mean, we're only 2 games into the series, but you guys laid a beating on them on game 1, and they came alive in Game 2. I mean, I'm sure you guys were anticipating more of a response, but you got one. Where do you stand here in terms of this matchup and how you see this playing out against Vancouver?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they didn't play their greatest game in Game 1, but at the same time we played a really good game. Game 2, they did exactly what we thought, and I think we just weren't prepared for it for whatever reason. They came out strong, and we were still even in that game, but the result wasn't there, and I think it's our turn to push back. I think in our locker room we know that no team can play with us when we play our game, and you probably hear that a million times, but we really do know that. We proved it down the stretch before this COVID started, and we proved it throughout the playoffs already. No team can play with us when we're playing our game, so we reset, and we're going to get back on the ice, and we're going to play like Game 1. We have to push them out. I don't think we were hard enough on their skilled guys. I expect a little bit of a harder game on them.
Well, we'll leave it there. I mean, best of luck tomorrow and throughout
Ryan,
the rest of the playoffs and the bubble and everything. It's obviously great of you to take time for us, and obviously the last couple of days have been a whirlwind. But thank you for finding some time and explaining it all to us, and good luck starting tomorrow and beyond that. Thank you for doing this, Ryan.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.